Do you know what I really hate when the LeBron stands do? You know how they say, "Oh, LeBron played against all these great teams in the finals," and like they bring up the Warriors and the Spurs and stuff. Do they realize that the only reason they're viewed as such great teams is because they have championships? Like, for example, if the Utah Jazz won in 97 and 98, they'd be viewed as an all-time great team.
Mars,
and the reason they're not is because they lost.
Yeah, I do agree.
Same exact thing, bro.
Mars, I do agree because I hate that argument when they said Jordan had no competition. Those teams that Jordan placed, that the Suns team was really good. That Sonics team was really good. The Jazz teams was good. The reason they're not held in high regard all the time is because they never won. And the reason they never won is because they lost in the finals to guess who? The Bulls. MJ. The reason the Spurs are viewed in such high regard. If the 2014 Spurs lost to Miami in 2014, they wouldn't be called an all-time great team. I guarantee you they wouldn't. But I will say this:
if the Warriors in 2015
was crazy though.
Lost, they wouldn't be called an all-time great team. If the Miami aren't called an all-time great team anyway, and Dallas, we know what happened. The 2007 Spurs, if they lost to LeBron in 07, they wouldn't be called an all-time great team. The reason you call them an all-time great team is because they won the finals, and guess who they beat? They beat LeBron James. If they actually lost, you wouldn't say that. So you're only saying that because they won and they beat your guy to win. So it's kind of.
I would say 2017 the Warriors was crazy.
Oh no, the 2017 Warriors for sure. Like they were going to be called a great team regardless.
I agree with you on the 2015 Warriors. They wouldn't have been called all-time great team, but I think that the Spurs
2016 and beyond.
The Spurs are not being called an all-time great team if they
2014.
No, because I think people would just call back to the earlier championships. They'd be like, oh, they still had Duncan, they had Ginobili, they had Parker, they had those Hall of Famers. They would still look at them in that light. I think.
Nah, if the Spurs,
that's still a great team.
They'll look at them as old and past their prime, like they look at Carl Miller.
That's
what they would do.
If the Spurs lost, people don't understand the reason why the Spurs get called the Spurs is because of the way that they were dog walking Miami.
They was still a great team though. They was dog walking the entire they was playing great the entire playoff run.
They struggled more against OKC than Miami.
But Dev,
I cried.
That goes to show the impact of Kevin Durant. Number one, number two, number two. Mars is 100% right.
And I said the Warriors in 2017 are an outlier. I literally said they would still be viewed as all-time great. They just failed. So shut up. Carry on.
Them being put on that map of beating LeBron James and having the series in which they did, that's what validates them as this all-time great team. If the Phoenix Suns, for instance, beat Michael Jordan in the Bulls, that team was loaded. And nobody talks about that. That team had like 6 guys above double figures. I think it was 6 or 7.
The issue was their defense was just meh.
Yeah, but if they would have won Mars,
always have a defense.
If they would have won Mars, that would have been
100%.
But you see, you want to know what happened? LeBron let people eat on his watch, and
in your opinion, what was the best team?
This is a little bit. This because now the rhetoric was completely different. Back when after the Spurs had won, like in 2007, people were like considering them one of the greatest teams. People were talking about them in that light. I know it was a lot of years later, but still, like they were viewed as like an all-time great team, even though
that defense was crazy.
Yeah, they were like people were debating like, oh, are they a dynasty? Even though they didn't win any back-to-back, that was what people were talking about. And so now to say that the conversation is only because they beat LeBron, that's not true.
If they would have lost to LeBron,
if they lost, they would have just said it was Duncan was like 36, Manu was 36.
No. He's talking about 07. He's talking about 07. He's talking about 07.
No. But I'm saying like a lot of people still attribute that. A lot of people attribute that earlier success to how they viewed them even in 2013 and 2014,
which is a major issue.
No, but it's true.
Bro, that's
we're talking about how people would talk about it. That's how people would talk about it. That's how
LeBron James fans would talk about it.
Yeah.
But just most people.
Think about it, Drew. Think about it, Drew. This all-time great dynasty Spurs, right?
They're only a dynasty because they beat LeBron twice.
Yes. With LeBron,
I wouldn't say that.
They wouldn't be called a dynasty with 3 championships. They wouldn't.
No, I mean, a reason why they have like I think the playoff success.
I was there. I was literally watching media coverage and all that stuff. People were like, "Oh, are they a dynasty?" They were talking about even though they haven't won any back-to-back. People were debating like,
the 99 to 05 would be viewed as a dynasty, sure. 2013 and 14 would not be considered part of that dynasty. It wouldn't.
After 07,
he's talking about 07. He's talking about 07, Mars.
If they lost in 07 and never won it, so if 05 was their last championship,
they won.
The Spurs after that would not be called Dynasty Spurs. They wouldn't.
No, I'm talking about after 07. So they won in 07. There was the third one, right? So like they were. That
was the fourth one. That was their fourth.
A lot of people didn't give LeBron any trash or any like negative downplaying of his career because he lost in that series, because they were like, oh my God, he lost to the all-time, like, this great Spurs team, Duncan, a Hall of Famer, Ginobili, Parker. Like people were talking about them in that light back then. So that's why when we talk about LeBron, people don't ever bring up that series and be like, damn, LeBron played trash in this series, because no, we look at like he was going up against a team he was overmatched. That's what people
think about it. But Drew, think about it like this, right? You're so overmatched, right? The Spurs are so overmatched, and with LeBron James probably playing the second worst finals performance he's ever had in his whole
I agree.
Watch this. So they only lost by 10. They one time. That was in game 2. In game 3, they lost by 3. In game 4, they lost by 1. And in game 1, they lost by 9. So despite their main guy being fucking ass for the whole entire series, they were still able to compete. That doesn't show me the Spurs as his all-time great.
I think,
but the Spurs still a great team. I think that shows how great LeBron was.
No, that's not how great LeBron
was. I just contradicted myself.
Hold on, I agree with you. That's the reality. Like, if LeBron played a little bit better, they could have damn near probably.
But Dub, is it fair to say like?
But that's the point is that the reality is not how people were talking about it. The way we're talking about how people would talk about it. That's what people were talking about. Now that's not that wasn't the reality, but that's what I'm saying. That's how people.
So what Mar started off is the reason why we talk about it in that way is because of the outcome in which happened, and the outcome of which happened was the 07 Spurs, because of LeBron James playing so badly, they beat them and they swept them. When LeBron James had numerous times of winning in some of those in game 1, game 3, and game 4.
We don't talk about it that way though. We don't talk about it as in like we don't put it on LeBron for them losing that series.
Yeah, you know why? Because the Spurs are still viewed as a dynasty. You know why? Because they have 5 rings and 2 are against LeBron. That's my point.
No, I'm talking about back then, like when it happened. Back in like
you know why? Because that was their 4th ring in 8 years. If they here's what I'm saying. 99 to 05 dynasty. We all agree. They won 99, they won 03, and they won 05. That's 3 rings in 6 years. In 07, if they would have lost and LeBron played well, and then they carried on. They didn't make the finals 08, 09, 10, 11, 12. They made it back in 13 and 14. And if they would have lost in 13 and 14 again, they would have said the dynasty ended in 05. And they would have said 07, from 06 onwards, the Spurs started to taper off a little bit. And you can actually see in 06, they lost to Dallas. 07, and people say they should have lost to Phoenix anyway. They shouldn't even have been in the finals. 08, all the way to 202012, they weren't making deep playoff runs. 2013, they lost 2014. That's what would have happened.
Oh wait, they did. Oh wait, they did. But
I think that Spurs team was still winning a lot of games.
I disagree. If they lost in 07 to LeBron, I think people would be saying straight up back then. People would say LeBron's the GOAT or he's on his path to being the greatest of all time. Back then,
yeah, because that 07 team was still really talented.
Oh my God, talk about the Spurs.
Oh no, I get you.
Crazy. So if LeBron had beaten them in 07 with that Cavs team, oh my God, he would have been on an unbelievable pedestal that he would just like he would have been called the GOAT 5 years in the league.
You want to know why? You want to know why?
I agree. I'm just saying they wouldn't be viewed as a dynasty Spurs in 07.
The talk would be LeBron ended the Spurs dynasty.
That's what they would say. That's what they would say. But they wouldn't say that the dynasty Spurs went all the way till 2014, like they're doing now. That's my point.
No. Well, yeah,
it would be a different narrative. But I do agree. They would say LeBron ended the dynasty.
Join way.